Well, good day, everybody. How are you going? It's wonderful to see your faces again, albeit over technology and in Zoom. And these have certainly been very unusual times for us all. But I'm the bearer of good news tonight, and that's the news that I like to impart to you. So, what we've done this is the second session of this meeting. We've already had a meeting with the coaches and managers. And we're trying to pass that on to as many members as we possibly can, and some of the coaches and managers that missed out on Friday night's meeting. So where are we at? Well, tonight's meeting, we've put together a bit of an agenda. I'm going to take you through the plan and how we came about to create it. We're going to look at Football New South Wales' guidelines. Then we're going to look at the overview of the guidelines, where we've broken them down into easy to eat parts. Then we're going to look at the attendance sheet that you're all going to have to fill out when we get back to training. The training allocations, which have slightly changed, but we've had to do that, and I'll explain to you why. I've got a brief overview of what's occurring with the minis, what you're going to do with your equipment, and then we'll summarise the presentation. And then after that, we'll have some Q&As. Now, Daniel's already explained to most of you now that tonight's meeting, you'll all be on mute, because obviously if we've got 200 people all talking at once, it'll just be nonsense and no one will be able to understand what's going on. So it's not a forum per se, but it's more of an information session to help you understand what we require from you to help us all make this happen. And I've got to say that the Colts is probably one of the best clubs in the area for making this type of thing happen. We've got the resilience, the community spirits and the common sense. And I know that if one club makes this work, it's going to be the Colts. So stand by for your instructions, as it were. And I think the meeting will probably take about 30 minutes, and we'll be ready to go. If you have a question, please add it to the chat function, and they will be answered by the moderator, Daniel. So just put your question in the chat function. Daniel will attempt to answer it the best way he possibly can. And then if there are any hot topics at the end of this, Daniel will bring those hot topics up, and then we'll attempt to answer them tonight. And as Daniel said, we'll do a frequently asked questions, and we'll post it on the website as well, probably in the next day or so. The chat function, if you look at your toolbar on your screen, you'll see a chat function down in the bottom of the screen. And if you just click on that, and you can add your questions. So how do we come about to be where we are today? So the Office of Sport, the Australian Sports Commission, the Australian Institute of Sport, Football New South Wales, the Hillshire Council and the state government and HFI have all come together, and through all those bureaucracies have managed, believe it or not, to get us back to training, which I think is a fantastic achievement. There's a lot of boxes that had to be ticked to make this happen. And we're now at a club level, we need to plan, prepare, be able to respond and recover. So what have the Colts done? So on Wednesday, we got told that we've got a return to training plan. We've got permission, to return to training. And what are we going to do about it? So the committee met on Thursday. On Friday, we drew up our initial plans. We met with the coaches and managers on Friday night. We told them what was happening. On Saturday, we drew up our plan, and we implemented some of the things that we have to do as a club to ensure your safety when you get back on the fields training. So we've drawn up the Colts COVID-19 safety plan in line with the Australian Sports Commission, and that's going to be available on our website for you all to look at any time. So Football New South Wales has issued a return to training guidelines, and we've also done our own return to training guidelines based on that, and we've done a number of measures that you will need to abide by if this is going to work. So what is Football New South Wales doing? Well, they're following the framework provided by the Australian Institute of Sport, Level B, and it's implementing Level 1 of the Australian Government Roadmap to COVID Safe Australia and the Public Health COVID-19 restrictions on gatherings and movement, Order number 2, 2020, as issued on Friday the 15th of May. My God, what a mouthful that is, and you can imagine how complex that must have been for them to achieve what they've achieved today. And Football New South Wales should be commended for the efforts they've done. HFI should be commended for their assistance they've given Football New South Wales to get us into this position. So the Australian Institute of Sport issued a return to sport framework, which is what Football New South Wales adopted. And again, we follow that framework. So if you look at the framework, and again, this is available on the internet, it's available on our website at any time for you to look at, but we're currently in level A. They've just given us permission to go into level B. And if you have a look at that, that's non-contact skills training, passing, shooting and headers for small groups, not more than 10 athletes and staff in total. So what that means is that's one coach, 9 players, or one coach, a manager and 8 players, or one coach, a manager, a parent and 7 players. You can see the combinations, but it must be limited to 10. Now this level B is split into 2 parts. It's up to 10 players for the first part, and then when more restrictions are lifted, it'll go to 20 players. Okay, so when it goes to 20 players, that includes indoor activities as well. So at this stage, we're in level B, part 1. So level 1 training, what is permitted? Training to be conducted in small groups, no more than 10 players and or other personnel in total. So what we're going to ask you to do is this. When you turn up to your training session, we just want the coach and the 9 players to be there. We don't want the parents, we don't want spectators or anybody else to be in that training area. It has to be 10. Social distancing of 1.5 meters between players. Spacing so there is no more than 1 person per 4 square meters. Non-contact skill training drills, so that's passing, shooting and some headers, but no one-on-one or 2v2 or 5-a-side games at this stage at all. Some sharing of sporting equipment can happen, such as the kicking of a football, using a skipping rope, weights or agility equipment. And then we put together, well, Football New South Wales has put together these preparing for training and what you can and can't do posters, which we've replicated, and you'll see them around the club as you get back to training. So we need to maintain an attendance record. We can't use the change rooms. We've put in towels and toilet soap in the public toilets. You need to be punctual. It's so important that the coach is there on time, waiting for the players to arrive. The players must arrive, maintain a 1.5 distance, and then you have to take regular drinks breaks and hand sanitizing. So there's a massive checklist. Football New South Wales is a bit shorter than the Australian Sports Commission one, but we've answered both of them. The Australian Sports Commission checklist is 10 pages long, and we've managed to answer all the questions in the positive, which is a good thing for the club. So what does Kellyville Colts expect? Well, we want all our members, participants and coaches, officials, administrative staff and volunteers to comply with the health directions of government and public health authorities as issued from time to time. We want you to understand and act in accordance with the Kellyville Colts COVID-19 safety plan as amended from time to time. And I think you need to understand that amendments will occur. If we go from 10 players per area to 20, we'll have to update our safety plan. If we then go back to playing football, which it looks likely it's going to happen, we'll then have to update our safety plan. So one thing, and I'll say this again and again, one of the things that Kellyville Colts has to do is be alert, be vigilant, and be responsive. So we'll be giving you information as much as we can, as often as we can, to keep you up to speed with what's going on. You need to comply with any testing and precautionary measures implemented by the Kellyville Colts. Act with honesty and integrity in regard to the state of their personal health and any potential symptoms, and monitor their health and take a cautious approach to self-isolation and reporting of potential symptoms. Now, this is all obvious stuff, and I'm sure for all of us, it's quite simple and we can do this. So, the overall aim of our training, return to training is get in, train, and get out. And that's it. It's that simple. Okay, so that's what we want to do. We want you to only train in your allocated area and time slot. So we've got a football pitch. It's going to be split into 4 quarters. All players must wear Colts kit. I can't emphasize how important this is. The committee will be at the pitches at all times wearing a high-vis vest, and it's up to them to ensure that we're compliant with these guidelines. So if you've got Colts kit on, we can easily identify Colts players that are training at Bernie Mullane. Now, you all know as much as I do that it's a very popular field and people from other clubs will tend to turn up from time to time. We're going to have to ask them to vacate the area. It's very important that we don't have more than 10 in that quarter of a field. So when you're wearing your Colts kit, we can identify you, we can see who you are, and then it makes it easy for us. Now, if you don't have a Kolts training shirt, please see Steve at Elite Sports or your age coordinator and we'll sort something out for you. Any player not wearing Colt kit will be asked to leave. No more than 10 people to be allocated per quarter, as I explained before. Players and coaches only, no spectators. This causes problems in itself. I mean, for years we've been advocating to parents, do not drop and go. Please stay and watch the training session. Now we're asking them to step outside the fence and please don't participate in the training session. But it's the only way we can limit the crowds on the pitches at the moment. Social distancing is to be implemented, 1.5 metres apart, and no person-to-person contact training drills. So all equipment, this is the coach and manager's part of this, they need to be cleaned. All equipment should be cleaned after use. So that's obvious. I mean, if we're sharing equipment, we need to try and keep it as clean as possible. And we've all been watching the same news. We've all been getting the same information. And I think this is just, again, common sense. Minimum handling of equipment. Heading drills must be minimized. Personally, I don't think heading drills are probably appropriate, but that's entirely up to you guys. Football New South Wales and the Australian Institute of Sport have said it's okay, so then it must be okay. Regular hydration breaks. Now with regular hydration breaks, no sharing of drink bottles, but with their hydration breaks, we should be encouraging all players to keep their hands nice and clean with the sanitizers that we as a club are going to provide. Hand sanitize regularly. We're not going to allow training bibs. The problem we've got with training bibs is they want each player to keep their own training bib and bring it back. Well, I think you all know as well as I do, we've got 1,600 players. I can guarantee we'll give out 1,600 bibs in week 1, and then the following week we'll give out another 1,600 bibs. So I think no training bibs is sensible, plus the fact we're not doing any 5v5 games or anything, so we don't need to delineate between the players. So that's a sensible option. Players are to enter and leave the pitch promptly. And that's, again, back to that point. Get in, train, get out. It's very important that we do that. Minimize social contact and large gatherings. So the coaches, you need to be able to be available when the players arrive and give them something to do. Give them all a ball, get them out there, start their warm-up. But we're not doing hugs and kisses and all that sort of normal stuff that we would normally do, high-fiving. It's not on. We're just there to train, and then we go. No spitting at any time. I hate spitting anyway. This should be a rule we always have. No spitting. And do not share drink bottles. That's obvious. So if you want to train outside of your nominated time slot, you've got to check with the CompSec, Sherry, and she'll check the availability and grant your permission. But you must not train without club approval. This is so important. We've made up a training roster for you all. It's been very difficult to do, but we've given you mostly the nights that you would normally have trained on. And you have to train in your allocated spot at that time. There'll be committee members present to check that you're in the right spot. If you've got a problem, you don't know where you're supposed to be, just ask. So what have we done? We'll place signs at strategic locations around the field. So we've made up a whole bunch of A-frame signs. We've done what you should and shouldn't do on the pitches, how to monitor your safety. We'll supply sanitizers for each pitch. So we've bought 1 million sanitizers. We didn't panic buy them, they were available, but you'll see them out on the benches. We'll be putting trestle tables out on the pitches with sanitizers and signage and tissues and bins for you all to use. Soap dispensers are located in the toilets, and we fitted those the other day. And there will be a committee member present at all times. So one thing that's important to remember here, we're not here to enforce the guidelines. We're not here to enforce the law. We're here to obey it. But the committee member will assist you in going along with the guidelines. So if there are people that are transgressing, it's up to the committee members to sort that out, not up to the coaches and managers or players. So we've made up some signs. You would have seen these just before we shut down. Okay, we've got play it smart and stay apart, 1.5 metres. That diagram looks a little bit like my legs, unfortunately, but I did manage to get the red and black stripes on it. No handshakes, hugs and kisses and cheek kisses. And obviously, if you feel unwell, don't turn up for training. Just seek medical attention. That's so important. So these are the signs that we've made for the pitches that you need to be aware of. as you can see, there's a checklist here. Maybe you should just familiarize yourself with that now, because if you try to read it before your training session, by the time you finish reading it, you probably would have used up half your training time. But anyway, it tells you what to do, what not to do, and how to conduct a safe training session. The next thing is this. So we've been asked, and sensibly so, to keep an attendance record of training. So we were given a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. It was too difficult. So what we've done, we've created an online form that you can use on your phone, and you'll go onto your phone, click on the link, and then I'll ask you these questions. The training date, what team you are or age group, what time you've started, and what time you'll be finished. It'll ask you the coach's name or the manager's name that's completing the form, and it'll also ask if any of the team are using the COVID app. The attendee's first name and last name needs to be added, and that's all the information that we require. And you can keep adding as many as you like. Hopefully it's just 9, and then you put the coach or manager's name in there as well. Okay, so that then gives us all the information. Should anything occur that we need to notify the other players in that team, or the other players need to be notified of what's gone on, then we've got a record of it that we can share with the appropriate authorities. And it's that simple. So here's the new look training roster. This is pretty much set in concrete now. There is some room to move, but not a lot. You can see how busy the fields are. We've got a lot of teams to get onto the paddock. We've given you all an hour and a half, so that we thought, so for the bigger teams where 10 players is inappropriate, we thought you'd do one session, say for 45 minutes, and then do a second session with the other half of the team for another 45 minutes. Now, it's so important that you don't do this. You don't say, right, I'll get 5 of you over on that pitch and 5 on that pitch, and then you keep swapping them over. Once you've done your attendance sheet and the 10 players are training, it's those 10 players that train for that session, then they go. Then the new 10 players come in. There's no mixing and matching, because that's inappropriate and it's not within the guidelines. There's a training schedule for the minis. They'll be training on Saturday, so every minis team will be training Saturday morning. We felt that this is the easiest way to do it. They would have been playing now on Saturday mornings anyway. It gives them their own areas to train on. They can do it unencumbered by some of the senior teams, and we think it's going to work. So the training fields, we probably already know this, but you've got the stables over here on the right-hand corner, field 1, field 2, 3, 4, and 5, split up into the four quarters. So Saturdays are available on request. You can train any time on a Saturday from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night. Fridays are also available, and as are Mondays. So when you looked at that training roster that we've drawn up, you'll notice that Fridays and Mondays, there's still some plenty of time available there that you can get onto Sherry and ask if you can train in any of those slots. So with the minis and Super Soccer we're playing this year if everything gets back on the pitch. Now, the good news is this. We've got some information from HFI today via Football New South Wales and the Office of Sport that it looks like there's a very good chance we could be back on the pitch playing competition on July the 1st. So, fingers crossed, if we do the right thing and everybody else does the right thing, we could be back playing a proper competition. And the plan is to play a full competition. We're going to try and encroach on the cricket season a little bit, apparently, so that we'll get finals and all sorts of things in. That's the plan, that's the goal, and I think HFI can achieve it. Yaz is arranging equipment to pick up on Tuesday at 16:30 to 17:30 for the minis. So that's tomorrow night, everyone. If you want to go and get your balls and kit, Yaz will have them there for you. And minis will all train on Saturday mornings, as I just said, and there's the roster for them. So for the equipment side of things, you would recall that just as we were about to get into training, we got told we're not allowed to play football anymore. So some of you don't have your equipment. Now's the time to get onto your age coordinator and get your equipment. We had a delivery of about 15 million balls just as we went into hibernation. So they're all in the shed. They need pumping up too, by the way. But if you want to get your equipment, get onto the age coordinator and we'll get your gear out to you. All right. So that's all ready to go. So in summary, and I told you this meeting wouldn't take very long. In summary, this is only temporary and it will change. 100%. we may only last for a week of 10 players, and we might leap into 20 players in week 2. So things are going to change, and they're going to change quickly. We're a club of 1,600 members, so that's a lot of people, that's a lot of teams, and we're trying to help every one of our members. It's about all of us, and it's not about individuals or individual teams. So we need to work together on this. We have to follow the guidelines. We don't have a choice. You either follow them or you don't follow them. If you don't want to follow them, then it's probably best that you don't train. You just advise your age coordinator that you can't follow the guidelines, it doesn't suit you, and then we'll allocate someone else that training spot. Now, if we fail this, we could jeopardize the season. But I told you before, the Colts are the most resilient, community-spirited, and most common-sense club in this area. We're the best club at this type of stuff, and we will make this work. And I know that you guys can make this work. So we won't fail, and the season won't be in jeopardy. We'll make it happen. But the worst part is we can put someone's health at risk. If we don't follow these guidelines, we could be putting someone's health at risk, and that's the last thing that we want to do. So forget the football. Let's not make anyone else sick. So that's it in summary. That's where we're at the moment. It's been a lot of work for the committee, but the committee are dedicated to getting this right for you. The plan's going to work. We're doing a quick test run tomorrow night to ensure that we've got all our ducks in a row to make sure that you can have a safe and a pleasurable return to training. And then on Wednesday of this week, we anticipate that the whole club can start training. So we'll issue that tonight. We'll put out on Instagram and Facebook and on the website, we'll post the training schedule, and you can all start training on Wednesday night. Now, if you've missed out because you normally would have trained on the Tuesday, then you need to get onto Sherry and ask if maybe you can train on Saturday or Sunday or Friday this week, okay? But it's Wednesday this week, we're back to training. So, Dan, do we have many hot topic questions going on? Hello, Dan. Are you still there?
Hello, Bob. Yes, we're still here. There's been plenty of questions, and I'm loving the chat, which is excellent. I think we've managed to keep up with them all. And ironically, most of the questions pop through, and then 30 seconds later, Bob, you seem to be answering the questions. So I'm not sure if you've got some Jedi mind powers going on here tonight that's in sync with the questions from the team. But essentially, I think we just reiterated the fact that training will start from Wednesday this week. There's a few questions about whether they could start tomorrow, but we just need to do a test run tomorrow, make sure we've got our systems in place. And then Wednesday we'll be right to kick off. The other question that seemed to ask, a few people seem to ask, was about splitting the team in two. So if we do have more than 10 players in the team, and remember, if you got 10 players, you'll need to split that too, because you can only have 10 including the coach. So you need to split the time that the group of players and coach of 10 are actually on the pitch. So you have an hour and a half time slot. So you might have to do coach and 5 players for the first 45 minutes, and then they go home, and then coach and the last 6 players for the last 45 minutes, and they go home. Now, that's not great. We understand that. We appreciate that. But just keep in mind that this is just phase 1 of the training plan. We expect these to be in place for the next few weeks, and then we'll move to phase 2, where hopefully we can get the whole team together. So I think that covers most of the questions there, Bob. If there's any others, we'll make sure we capture them in the chat and then get back to everybody. So back to you, Bob.
All right, well, look, thanks very much for that, everyone. It's fantastic to see you all back. We've missed you so much. I can't wait to see you all on Wednesday. I'll be down there at the pitch, as will most of the committee. If you've got anything you need to ask, get onto your H coordinator as soon as you possibly can, and we'll get through this together. And like I say, it's going to change. It won't be like this for very long, but you must stay alert, not alarmed, stay vigilant, look out for our information, and be responsive. Be able to change as the times change. And if we get this right, we'll be playing competition, and we'll win every single premiership we can in 2020, as we did in 2019. So without any further ado, thanks very much indeed for coming. It's been fantastic seeing you. Now, you are the vectors. So unlike COVID-19, you need to spread the word. You need to spread this information to the rest of the people in the club, to the rest of the players that you know, and just go out there and tell them all the information. All the stuff that we've spoken about tonight will be on the website. All our plans are on the website, and please don't hesitate to ask if you need anything. So thank you very much for coming tonight. Can't wait till Wednesday. I'll see you all then. Thank you.